Hi, and welcome back to episode 2 of the 7 foundation principles of career building. Today we are covering second principle, which is knowing yourself. This one single step is going to help you clarify a lot of your self-doubts about which higher education stream is right for you or which career field is going to be the best fit for you. So if this is something which you are struggling with, then stay on and watch this video till the end so that you can figure out how to use very simple and easy tools to sort out the biggest confusion, which is your best fit career. Welcome back to episode 2 of the 7 foundation principles of career building. Today we are discussing knowing yourself. Now, why is it so important to know yourself? And in this particular foundation principle, what we are exploring is how to find your strengths, how to figure out which areas are you good at. Now, let's take one step back. Have you always heard of people and your teachers, lecturers, professors, colleagues, family members always saying that, find out your strengths. You should always work in the area of your interest. You should always focus on working in an area where you are good at, where you're strong at. Well, that all that sounds great. All that is absolutely right. But we are missing a fundamental link over here. How do you actually figure out what are your strengths? Which of your attributes, which of your characteristics are your strengths? Now, one way of doing this is by practice, by going through experience, asking people about feedback about where you did well, which areas you should be developing more on, which aspect do they feel you will do better on and excel in. Well, that is one way of doing it, and that is slightly a skewed way of doing this, because their opinions about you and your strengths will be limited to their understanding and their experience. There are more scientific ways of doing this. There are more easier and more logical and tested ways of figuring out what your strengths are. And that's exactly what we're going to cover in the next couple of minutes. So let's get into our mind map like we always do. And here, as you can see, we've already covered goal setting in yesterday's episode. Today, we are getting to knowing yourself. Now, when we want to figure out what are your strengths, there are a few ways of doing this. The most traditional way of doing this is going through an aptitude test. Now, an aptitude test will measure your logical, numerical, spatial, verbal, emotional aptitude. Now, a traditionally done aptitude test mainly focuses on your logical and your numerical abilities, which means your logical and your numerical abilities directly correlates to your maths and science aptitude. Okay. One of the main reasons why people choose to do aptitude test is to find out what your processing speed is to find out what your IQ is. And to be really honest, in today's time and age, you don't need to be a walking, talking calculator. Yes, you need to be good at numbers, which is a fundamental Indian thing to do, but you don't really have to, shout out calculations and shout out answers at the drop of a hat. You don't need that. With the advancement in technology, a lot of such things have now become easy. Yeah. So the need for a very high IQ to excel in whatever field you're working in is not really that prominent. Yeah. So let's look at, this was step 1. This was first option that you could explore. The second option is to go through a personality and a behavior analysis, is to figure out which is your strongest personality, what is your personality type that will fit a kind of job profile. Now, there are a few in over here. The first one is called DISC assessment. DISC simply stands for dominant, influential, steady, and conscientious. This is one of the most widely used and widely accepted personality self-analysis tools in institutions as well as in corporates. Do you need this right now as a student or somebody who is just kicking off their careers? Not really. The second one is DMI analysis. DMI stands for Dermatoglyphics Multiple Intelligence. This is the analysis done by the use of fingerprints through your biometric scans. This, I suggest, usually to be done for kids between 3 years to 15 years. But if you're above 15, you don't need DMI as well. The next test that you should be getting in, that is available out there, is called the Joe Harry window. Now, Joe Harry window specializes and actually emphasizes a lot and is used widely when people want to figure out, when organizations want to figure out how their team is working together. The Joe Harry window helps in improving communication style, helps in improving team building, helps in bonding better relationships between workers, co-workers, and it helps in group dynamics. Don't think you need this as well if finding the right career choice is going to be for you. You still can find institutes and assessment centers who offer you Joe Harry window and DISC and even DMI. It will definitely give you more insights into what your strengths are. But as a first step, you don't need to dive in so much of detail. The next one which is available is called a Myers-Briggs type indicator. This again is a personality analysis which compares your personality across 8 different types. Yeah. As a student and as an early professional, if you really want to figure out which career field you should be getting into, I'd suggest get into MBTI, do MBTI after you've got a couple of years of work experience under your belt. Don't do it before that. And this again is a personality evaluation technique, which means it will tell you a lot about what are your intrinsic personality values. Now, the third type of assessments or tests available out there, let me just fold this one over here. So the third type of tests available out there are different career assessments. Yeah. So there are different educational consultants, agencies, people who get you overseas education visas. All of them do career tests. Most of them do a simple aptitude test or a simple English language test. Yeah, these two tools are used quite widely and quite openly. The one career test that you should be getting into, if you're really serious about figuring out which are your best career options, then that test should have these 5 aspects. Number 1, this test should be able to assess your career interests. Number 2, it should be able to assess your personality and your strongest personality characteristic that matches more than about 18-20 different job fields. Number 3, it should of course have an element of assessing your aptitude in there. Okay. Now, as we discussed earlier, there are 5 different types of aptitudes. An ideal career test will be the one which can help you gauge all the 5. Your best fit career option career test should also have an element of measuring your emotional quotient. The reason why you need your career self-assessment to also have an emotional quotient element attached to it is so that you can figure out if your emotional balance is high when it comes to managing your own motivation levels, if your emotional quotient is high when it comes to managing others, if your emotional quotient is high when you're working in teams. Your emotional quotient decides a lot more on how far you will go in your career, because trust me, when it comes to career building, it's not a one-person game. And the higher up you go, you've got to engage with more people, you've got to take your teams along with you, and for that, your IQ is going to only help you so much. The reason why people follow leaders is not because of how intelligent and how smart they are. People follow leaders because leaders know how to carry people along with them and how to help them succeed. And that component comes from emotional quotient, not so much from your IQ. Yeah. And lastly, the 5th component of your career assessment should be that at the end of it all, after assessing your interest, personality, aptitude, and EQ, it shows you your top 5 best fit career options. Now, we do have a career self-assessment for students and early professionals. It's called the Career Finder, which takes care of all of these 5 aspects. And if you would like to learn more about that, there is a link below in the description. You can follow it and get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to help you out. But if you are a career aspirant, and if you are wanting to figure out how to know your strengths, then this these are your options that you can get into. Do an aptitude test if you specifically want to know if your fitment in maths and science streams are going to be high. Do a personality behavior of DISC, DMI, Johari, or MBTI if you are already working in a team and want to know how to improve the dynamics. If you are somebody who's starting off and want to figure out which career stream, which educational stream is going to work better for you, then go in for a career test that we offer, or anybody else that you find more reliable offers, but should have these 5 components of career interest, personality, aptitude, EQ, and your top 5 best fit career options. Now, if this was helpful, if you're finding this helpful, then please do subscribe to our channel, like our video, share it with somebody who needs to see this, and keep following our series of foundation principles that we're covering now. If you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon, you will also be notified when our episode number 3 launches, and you'll get that in your inbox straight away. So thank you very much for sticking till the very end, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again. Cheers.